Ding. Ugh. Ding, what? Ding, okay, I'm up now, I'm up. Before looking at my phone, I check the clock. 6:15 a.m. Seriously? I say to myself. And there they were, the cause of all the dinging, the texts. Rabbi Julia, did you hear what happened last night in Thousand Oaks? And another, I wanted to let you know we are safe. Wait, what? Rabbi, was anyone from Oremi at the bar last night? By this point, I had turned on the local morning news, and like thousands of Southern Californians, I woke up to the reality of the violence that had hit so close to home. More texts. We lived just down the street from borderline. We had teens running into our house to escape the shooting. It was a long and awful night. And then one more. Rabbi, I just heard that a kid from Oremi was at the bar last night. Do you have more information? Is he okay? Is he safe? My heart started to race as the reality and the proximity of the situation came into focus. I quickly checked in and found out that indeed our congregant was safe, thank God. But really, another mass shooting? Just 2 weeks after the shooting in Pittsburgh in a synagogue, that one felt close to home because it was in the Jewish community. But the borderline shooting? That was close to home, literally one exit down the 101 from where we are sitting tonight. People we knew and cared about were involved, and our community was hurting. And even as we were getting ready for school, work, running our daily errands that morning, members of this community began planning our response. There would be comforting phone calls to families touched by the tragedy, not just from the clergy, but from individual congregants who just wanted to reach out to say that they cared. And demonstrations of support for the Ventura County sheriffs who risked and gave their lives to save so many. From them, our teens came together to make chocolate-covered desserts. And visits to the hospitals that were taking care of victims where we donated blood to give the gift of life. And I remember in the midst of all of this, the other text messages that came through, Rabbi, how are you doing? Rabbi, what can we do to help you take care of everyone else? Throughout that day, members of Oremi found each other and checked in on one another at the temple, on freeway overpasses as the body of Sergeant Ron Helis was transported via motorcade, and on social media and texts. As a community, Oremi lifted one another up and helped each other through a very dark day. And so we began to heal by surrounding ourselves in community. And then about 8 hours later, ding, seriously? Ding, what now? Ding, everything okay, guys? What's going on? I watched as our office staff, one by one, took out their phones. And then it was my turn. Ding, a text from my husband. Hey, Jules, there's a fire right outside the office. Everybody's getting out of here. I'm heading home soon. It wasn't long before there were more dings, more notifications of the growing firestorm about to hit the community. The cities and neighborhoods being evacuated became a blur of places where we had gone to play, to work, to pray. Hidden Hills, Oak Park, Agora Hills, West Hills, Calabasas, Bell Canyon. Suddenly, the day that had begun terribly for many was going from bad to worse. And yet again, the Oremi community was sending dozens of text messages to the same people we had checked on just hours before. But text messages were coming in faster than we could even send them out to check in. Rabbi, I've got space for a family or two if they need a place to stay tonight. Rabbi, how can I get dinner to the families that were just evacuated? Rabbi, can I help you make calls to check in? The displays of kindness were overwhelming and a testament to our community. Of course, the fire wasn't done yet. Thousand Oaks, Westlake, Malibu Lake, Topanga Canyon. By the next morning, over 80% of our congregational family was under mandatory evacuation orders. And so, we sought community. Through the generosity of D. Toledo Jewish High School, we were able to send a note out to our families just hours after the fires began. We are hosting a kids' day camp and adult drop-in support day at D. Toledo High School. Activities and support for kids run by our staff, clergy and therapists available for adults. Come by if you need it, or come by to help others, or come by just to be together. And came together, we did. In a place not familiar to most of us, but with the people we call our community. And we began to heal. Our teens and faculty put together programs for our younger students, distracting them from the disruption of closed schools and the terror of middle-of-the-night evacuations. Mental health professionals volunteered their time to care for those who needed someone to talk to. Orami partners simply gave hugs to those who needed them. We surrounded ourselves with community, and we began to heal. The idea of community is elemental in Jewish practice. Our tradition teaches that we must have a group of 10 adults, a minyan, for much of Jewish ritual to be fulfilled. Those who want to be married according to Jewish tradition must have a minyan present in order to recite the words that bind them as a couple. In order to have a prayer service, you don't need a rabbi, a Torah, a synagogue, or even a prayer book. You need 10 people to come together with a shared intention to create a sacred space. Yes, our tradition recognizes the importance of individual prayer. And yes, 2 people can share their lives meaningfully with one another without a minyan. But Jewish practice insists that we be in community, surrounded by 9 others, in order to mark sacred moments. There's yet another setting in which a minyan is required, the mourner's Kaddish. The text, which actually has nothing to do with death, but rather affirming the sanctity of life and connection to God, requires a minyan. While mourning is a deeply personal process, the requirement that we stand with 9 others to recite mourner's Kaddish reminds us that it is not good to be alone, like Adam was told by God in the story of creation. Our own Rabbi Paul reflected on the power of this community when we surrounded him with love and support after his father died. He tells the story about chaperoning Orami's 7th grade trip to Disneyland while in the midst of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning after his father's death. Outside of It's a Small World, his dad's favorite ride at Disneyland, he shares, "I invited them to join me to say Kaddish for my daddy, who we called Papa. We all recited with confidence, caring, and strength. The students fashioned a community for their rabbi, carrying me through a moment of bittersweet memory. Uniquely, our prayer had a song track, as It's a Small World After All played in the background." Rabbi Paul continued, "Papa felt closer to us in the midst of the cacophony. Prayer complete, I thanked our students and dismissed them to continue our fun. A number of sweet ones came up and gave me a hug. Then we all took off for Main Street to shop at Nosh. Though the world seems so big and often impersonal during this year of mourning, thanks to Congregation Orami's 7th graders, it became a small world after all." 7th graders, mere 12 and 13-year-olds, stopped riding rides and running around Disneyland to show up for Rabbi Paul. They offered support and gave him a community in the middle of the happiest place on earth. Together, they helped him take a step towards healing. That togetherness, that showing up, and that goal of healing is central to Orami's community. It's why we place such an emphasis on Hinenu, on saying we are here for one another. We are not the only ones, though, who elevate the serving community to such an exalted level. In the Jerusalem Talmud, there's a debate on the hierarchy of mitzvot, of commandments that Jews are expected to follow. Specifically, the question is raised, what mitzvot exempt one from performing another competing mitzvah? As you might expect, many of the rabbis suggest that Talmud Torah, or studying Torah, is among the most important of the mitzvot, and therefore supersedes many lesser mitzvot. But yet Rabbi Yirmiyah provides an alternative commentary. Ha'osek b'sorchei tzibor ka'osek b'divrei Torah. Being occupied with community's needs, he says, is equivalent to being occupied with matters of Torah. Taking care of one another is important enough to exempt you from performing other, lesser mitzvot. While I love this commentary, it does raise a question for me. How many people must be in the community you are caring for in order for you to be exempt from those lesser mitzvot? A story. There once was a palace at the edge of a forest. A prince lived in the palace, and from the time he was a child, he was told whatever he did, he should not go into the forest. His parents said to him, if you go in, you will be lost and you won't be able to find a way out. So his whole life, he stayed out of the forest. One day, curiosity came over him, and he asked himself, what's the harm if I just peek inside? He crept closer to the forest. Even from the edge of the forest, he could hear strange and wonderful sounds. He walked a few steps in and saw fruits he had never seen before. He found himself drawn deeper into the forest until after several hours, it was time to return. Only then did he realize he'd become hopelessly lost. He tried to retrace his steps, he couldn't. He slept in the forest alone and afraid. The next day, he kept looking, searched all day, and the following day as well. But by the end of the third day, he had reached a point of despair. And all of a sudden, he spied an old man. The prince walked up to him and said, oh, thank God I found you. I can't find my way out. I've been lost for 3 days. 3 days? Laughed the old man. I've been lost in the woods for 3 years. The prince's hopes fell. Well, you're no use to me then. Ah, said the very old man, that's where you're wrong. For though I don't know which path leads out of these woods, I know 100 paths that do not. Come, together we will find our way. My friends, it doesn't need to be the entire Conejo Valley or a congregation or even a minyan to form a healing community. All it takes is just one person showing concern for another. Surely we can all find space for that. There were celebrations this year. There were weddings and births, anniversaries, sports victories, moments to be thankful for. I'm still really ready for this Jewish New Year 5780 to begin. A time hopefully with fewer tragedies and even more joy. In the midst of the chaos of the past year, I saw so many amazing examples of how coming together as a community can heal us. It is Rosh Hashanah, the new year. May we enter 5780 together, showing up for one another in sacred community to continue our work of healing. Amen.